We are back from the weekend, and Adam is with us. He had a pretty good showing at the NBA Live Final for DraftKings this weekend. Came in 24th, so nice little hit for Adam there. I know that everybody kind of dreams about that and says, well, I'm going to come in first and win $1 million this weekend. But 24th is nothing to sneeze about. Something else that you guys should not be sneezing at and taking advantage of. This show is sponsored by FanUp. If you guys are signing up at FanUp for the first time, use the promo code Awesemo. You get $25 for free and $20 in site credit. That's all you need to do is sign up using the promo code Awesemo. Don't have to do anything else. Don't have to make any kind of deposit. So that is something to take advantage of. Also, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comment section below. Now let's get into tonight's 9-game slate, starting with the Los Angeles Clippers. And this is where a lot of the value is coming from tonight, Adam, because we have Reggie Jackson resting, Marcus Morris resting, Robert Covington out because of a personal issue. With all this in mind, who's going to take up the usage and who are the best value plays from the Clippers?
Yeah, I mean, the usage part, I think, is kind of the difficult question because when you look at the rest of this team, there's not high usage guys. Terrence Mann is clearly going to play a ton of minutes at 5K. It makes him look like a very good value, but he's not a high usage guy. Same can be said for Amir Coffey. Not a high usage guy, should play a ton of minutes. Luke Kennard, I assume, takes on a lot of the usage. He's, capable of having the ball in his hands. He gets shots up. He's not shy about shooting. Like, he's one of the higher usage non-Jackson Morris guys on this team. So I assume you see a very nice bump for Kennard, both in playing time and usage. Brandon Boston ends up looking good at 3K. Pretty high usage guy, but, typically his minutes are with the second/third unit. So that probably comes down a bit, but it's a team kind of like Portland. We've seen with Portland recently where it's just like, I don't really feel too comfortable on who steps up and takes on a scoring role because most of the guys left are just not NBA level scorers. But I think Kennard is the most likely guy as far as scoring goes out of that main group. And then Brandon Boston, at 3K ends up looking like a good value as well.
Yeah, and just a really tough team to avoid. If you look at our ownership projections right now, the two most popular plays on the slate, Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann. Then Luke Kennard is not far behind, and neither is Brandon Boston. So, we're looking at 4 of the, 6 or 7 or so most popular plays from tonight are going to be coming from the Los Angeles Clippers. Not a surprise considering they're resting almost everybody today. And on the other side of this game, there's also potential for some value. Lauri Markkanen, Caris LeVert, Dean Wade are all questionable. Now, Dean Wade usually shouldn't matter, but there's some random games where he'll start and play like 36 minutes for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So if all 3 of these guys are out, there's a whole lot of minutes to fill. How confident are you that it'll be Kevin Love who picks up a lot of those minutes? Because I think he is the guy that could stand to gain the most.
I mean, at this point, I can't use the word confident and Kevin Love in the same sentence. If all of those guys were out, I really don't know where else they would go. I mean, Chetty would play more, I guess, but it would be hard for Kevin Love not to play more minutes if you're talking about Dean Wade and Lauri Markkanen being out, in addition to Jared Allen. If one of them is in, I still think that Love, one is in, one is out between Markkanen and Wade. I think Love still looks a little bit better, but that at least gets you into the situation where Cleveland has choices, and recently their choices regarding Kevin Love haven't really been to my liking. But if all those guys are out, I find it very difficult not to think Love's playing a lot of minutes.
All right, let's hit on the next spot. The Atlanta Hawks, who are going to be a little thin in the front court. Danilo Gallinari, he is out. John Collins also out again. Collins came back. Looked like he was starting to get healthy again. Didn't last for all that long because now he is back on the injury report with a foot sprain and a finger injury at the same time. Now, this is a really favorable matchup for them against Portland. Portland also another team that's just throwing out nothing but replacement level players. From the Atlanta Hawks, where do you see the best value coming in the front court with no Gallo and no Collins in the mix?
So I think this is a really interesting situation because they don't have a true replacement really behind Collins and Gallinari. And so my expectation is that you'll get DeAndre Hunter starting at the 4, and you'll get a starting lineup of Young, Herter, Bogdanovich, Hunter, and Capella. So you're probably looking at more minutes for Bogdanovich. You're looking at more minutes for Herter, more productive minutes for DeAndre Hunter. But where I think this matchup is really interesting is that you're still going to have to fill those Gallo minutes, in addition to the Collins minutes. So it's one thing to say what the starting lineup is, but then when you think about who's going to fill those minutes, there's no real clear answer once you give Bogdanovich and Herter, a few extra minutes. But going against this Portland team that's playing a lot of Drew Eubanks and Trendon Watford alongside each other, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little bit of Okongwu and Capella next to each other. And that's something that I think bodes well for both guys. Not saying that you want to play them in the same lineup, but if you can even project Capella Okongwu for like 52 minutes instead of 48, then it makes Capella look even better than he already would, and it makes a $3,400 Okongwu look even better than he already would.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that, because when I was running through the rotation this morning, I gave Okongwu 23 minutes and Clint Capella 25, but I'm really unsure if they play minutes together. So I'm happy you brought that up as a possibility. I think I'm going to project these guys each and give them a couple extra minutes just so I'm more apt to get some. I don't know that they're going to play together, but I like at least trying to target the upside with the potential of them being on the court together.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
For whatever it's worth, they've only played 3 minutes alongside each other this year. But even one of the Atlanta beat writers earlier, like when the news came out, he tweeted, he was like, this is going to be interesting. He was like, I don't know what they're going to do. Do they go to Jalen Johnson? Do they go to Gorgie Jang? Do they go Okongwu plus Capella? So I think it's a situation where there's just a lot of uncertainty because we really don't know. I mean, they could just give more minutes to Williams and Wright, and TLC ends up in the rotation. That's another possibility, where then you just still get 48 minutes from Okongwu and Capella. But the uncertainty, I think, given and the combination of that with the bigger Portland front court. Not sure if that's the right word for Watford and Eubanks, but two guys that you don't have to have a wing defender out there for. I think it at least opens the door to maybe Capella and Okongwu playing a couple minutes alongside each other.
The next game is my favorite one on the slate to talk about, and maybe a little bit less so for DFS purposes, but more so because of the MVP race and just real life purposes. Denver Nuggets going up against the Philadelphia 76ers. So it's Jokic versus Embiid. It looks like the Sixers are going to have everybody available. They said that they have a planned rest for back-to-backs going forward. This is the tail end of a back-to-back, and they played in overtime yesterday. But neither James Harden nor Joel Embiid are on the injury report, so I think that they're going to be good to go today. But Aaron Gordon is questionable. And this is already a Denver team without very much help around Nikola Jokic. If Gordon ends up sitting, what does that do for Jokic? And then are there any value plays that step up?
I'm not sure Gordon sitting changes much of anything. Like, his role on Denver just isn't very fantasy friendly anyway. So you're talking about somebody that isn't a high usage guy, doesn't do a lot of playmaking, doesn't rebound a ton. I think you probably see more minutes for guys like Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, but they're not great fantasy options anyway. And Green is already $4,300. So I don't really think Gordon being out changes a whole lot.
All right, this is one that should be a little more impactful. Chicago Bulls against the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings has been a team that's been pretty favorable for playing against in fantasy purposes. And today, this game is a pretty robust 235.5 total. And for Chicago, Zach LaVine is questionable. He's been battling knee soreness for the last 6 weeks or so. If LaVine is not able to play, and then also keep in mind, we still have Lonzo Ball out for the team. Alex Caruso is back in the mix. But if LaVine doesn't play, who are the guys that benefit the most from Chicago?
Yeah, if LaVine's out, this could really open up a lot, because the way I see it is if LaVine is in, Vooch still looks very good, but guys like DeRozan, Dosunmu, Caruso just kind of look like secondary options. If you take LaVine's usage and minutes out, Vooch looks even better, but DeRozan starts to look pretty good, although there are still plenty of other alternatives in that price range. But Dosunmu probably playing 36 minutes if LaVine is out at 5,100 against the Kings looks pretty good. Alex Caruso played nearly 30 minutes last game at 4,200. That would make him look pretty good. You can obviously take shots at Kobe White at 5,300, but I think he's behind those two guys. So it's kind of like the way I see it is Vooch is good one way or the other. DeRozan, Dosunmu, Caruso, all sort of secondary guys if LaVine is in, but they all get a step up if LaVine sits.
Now let's go to the final game on the slate, the Toronto Raptors. Fred VanVleet, he's been missing time lately, listed as questionable today. In addition, Malachi Flynn remains out. OG Anunoby remains out. We've seen the Raptors do some different things with their rotation when there's been no Fred VanVleet. So we have seen Scotty Barnes play point guard. Last game, Armani Brooks ended up playing a whole bunch of point guard. What do you expect from a potential starting lineup if there is no Fred VanVleet? Because depending who starts, Brooks could be a value option. Boucher could be a better value option. Do you have any clear read on who the guy would be?
I assume they would go with the same starting lineup they did last game, since they ended up winning that game, where you had Armani Brooks in and you had Precious Achiuwa start ahead of Khem Birch. But from a fantasy standpoint, it didn't change a ton because, with Malachi Flynn out, Brooks ended up playing 21 minutes. That's kind of Flynn would have played more than that. Precious Achiuwa played 20. Kem Birch still played 20 off the bench. Thaddeus Young played 22. Boucher did play 30. So I think it's a situation where if VanVleet is out, you can at least gamble on guys like a $3,900 Achiuwa, Young at $3,600. Boucher's priced up. But if he played 30 minutes against the Lakers, he would still look good. But I do think it's still kind of just like gambling on those guys, because if Brooks is still going to come in and soak up 22 to 24 minutes, it's still hard to say with any certainty that any of those other guys are getting a ton of run. I do think also, if VanVleet is out, it's more assist opportunities for Siakam, it's more production for Barnes, and it's a bump in usage rate for Gary Trent. That's what we've seen all season.
And that is going to do it for today's NBA injury report. There's still a lot of news to come out, a lot of players listed as questionable. If anything changes, leave a comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and check out the NBA Deeper Dive live before lock later today, and of course, Adam's tournament strategy videos.